Hi guys, what's up? Welcome to Flavored Vivid. For those of you guys new here, my name is Carissa, and this video is going to be in regards to timeline shifts and reality shifting, transurfing, paradigm shifting, whatever you like to resonate with. There's been a lot of portals, a lot of shifts, a lot of upgrades, a lot of ascension, and just a crap ton going on. So I thought I would give my own lens of perception on everything that we are experiencing at this time. I personally have been experiencing a lot of paradigm shifts, and there's a difference between a paradigm shift and a vibrational shift. Okay, although it's a mental state of vibration. So some things that you notice, other things that you don't notice. For me personally, I have been noticing a lot lately. For example, I had my girlfriends out here this past week, one from Chicago, one from California. What's up, girlfriends? And we were going over poetry. So for those that don't know me, I am a published and copywritten poet, have been since I was in 6th grade. It's just one of my things. I'm very good at communicating emotionally. As I say that, it's 111 on the timer here. So I was sharing my poetry with them one night, and the following day we went to go look it up again to have a conversation about what I had written down and to share that again at a more intimate level, and they were nowhere to be found. That is a paradigm shift. That is, in one vibration it exists, but in another vibration on another timeline it may not exist. Okay, so last night I actually woke up in the middle of the night and I wrote down a channeling. I typed out a channeling into my phone notes. I do that quite often, and I wrote, don't unconsciously choose to buy into things that are out of alignment with who you truly are. There's nothing good or bad except thinking makes it so, which is actually a Shakespeare quote, just an FYI there. But reprogram old constructs so you don't manifest unconsciously what you don't want to see. So what do I mean by that? What did I mean? What was I trying to iterate here when I was channeling that message? Whether you are consciously manifesting or you are unconsciously manifesting, you are still in a state of manifestation because you are a co-creator in a multi-universe of co-creators. So we have, for those of you guys that believe in the multi-universe theory, I am a believer of that, and I believe in infinite timelines, infinite realities, and that we get to choose which reality we want to reside in, which timeline is most optimal for us. Some of you guys could argue that this is the whole, Nelson Mandela thing, and it was started from CERN, and yeah, that's probably when it started for me, was back in 2008. However, we're not talking any Nelson Mandela, Berenstain Bears or any of that sort. There's my dog. Or any of that sort. We are actually talking about reality and how you co-create yours, okay? So a conscious choice versus an unconscious choice. A conscious choice would be to consciously keep your inner narrative in alignment with your goals, ambitions, morale, integrity, etc. An unconscious manifestation would be to feed into your ego, which is fear. So ultimately what the goal is here is to do that shadow work, and that's why I press shadow work so much. I know it's not all love and light, and I know that it hurts, I know it sucks, but by actually doing the shadow work is where you really manifest or unlock your gifts, you unlock your soul's purpose. There's so many great things by integrating the shadow, and it's very, very important. In any spiritually based book, they talk about shadow integration because it is a vital ingredient to the shift to raise consciousness here on Gaia. So the universe is only a mirror. It is, my internal reality will always manifest externally. So for example, with COVID and, the racism, the pedophilia, everything else that's going on, if I resonate on a timeline or I resonate with my fear, and for example, we'll just use COVID, and I'm afraid of COVID, naturally, I'm going to unconsciously manifest a reality at which I might get sick with COVID. But because I've raised my vibration and I don't truly resonate with COVID, I won't ever catch it, because it's not something that is in alignment with my reality. It doesn't really exist in my reality, but I'm not saying that it doesn't exist, because each reality is a lens of perception, a lens of projection from the viewer, aka you are the viewer. So in your reality might be really real, but that's why there's so many different arguments going around on social media or just within the lives of those that you are communicating with on a daily basis in regards to, do we wear masks, do we not wear masks, is it real, is it not real, and none of that truly matters. What truly matters is what you choose to subscribe to. I have been saying this for probably about a year now on my channel, and I talk about a hurricane, okay? And another message that came through to me was remain in the center of the hurricane. So although there's all this conflict, chaos, and hectic manifestation, and I say hectic, it is still a collective manifestation and showing that the collective is still fear based, okay? They are still conspiracy based, propaganda based, and that's how all of the news stations, the elites, the reptilians, whatever you choose to resonate with, really bring us in and scare us into this hurricane, right? But when you're at the eye of the hurricane, what is there? There's inner peace, there's a calmness, there's serenity, there's bliss, there's nirvana. And so by being heart-centered, by being that center, by being the eye of the storm here, it really allows you the vibrational and paradigm shift that you are actually internally seeking. All of us are internally seeking. We want change. We want, racism to end. We want pedophilia to go away. We want to raise consciousness. We want to live our best lives. And so we have to do so consciously. That is so important to recognize that consciousness within you. I've been reading a book, this is my second time reading it. It's called The Raw Material, the RA Material. It's an incredible book, and it talks, Raw is a 6-dimensional social memory complex. And what I've gathered from the entire book is basically that the 6th dimension is a hive mind, okay? Not just from the book, but, from experience, like when we're asleep, we're actually more awake, and when we're awake, we're more asleep, but we already know that, and we're not gonna go over that right now. So I like to consider it like a hive mind. And from this hive mind is where these seeds of ideas, this deja vu is experienced. So for example, there was a person on my Facebook page probably about 6 months ago who had a dash cam, and they pulled up to a light, and for whatever reason their gut instinct, their solar plexus had told them, you need to back up. Now of course there are no coincidences, so he reversed about the length of a car here, and 2 cars instantly right after he did that collided, and if he was in that same position, his car would have been damaged as well in this accident because of the way that the cars spun out of control. But for whatever reason, he was tapped in enough to have that deja vu, to remember that he was able to foresee an optimal timeline that was more beneficial to his higher good, to his safety, etc. We all have that capability. And so whether you experience it as deja vu, as, seeds of ideas is what I like to call them, seeds of ideas, because when I say seeds of ideas, I firmly am speaking on behalf of like those thoughts that come through to you. It could also be experienced as, that gut feeling, our body, we're supposed to listen to our bodies here. Sorry, I'm just scrolling down in my phone and my computer here to go over things that I wanted to talk about, because I kind of made a list. I didn't want to go over this. So another channeling that I wrote another night, probably about a week or 2 before this one, I wrote, ego resisting reality is arrogance. Okay, it's irresponsible and it's ignorant. If you're not looking at your darkness, you are not loving your darkness, which means that you are not accepting it and you are not integrating it. It will leave you feeling incomplete and complacent with what you've generated physically within your reincarnation as a human. In order for your light to illuminate your darkness, it needs to be seen without judgment, and it needs to be integrated without identity. Part of self-realization is knowing that you are a being of eternal worth. Therefore, nothing external to you may cause harm to your being. So again, really reiterating what I originally said, if you do not subscribe to the hurricane itself and you are the eye of the hurricane, you will not be impacted by the hurricane. And so ultimately you can't blame anything external to you, because the universe is your mirror. The universe is responding to your vibration. And so let's see, I put co-creation and how it impacts reality. So what does this mean for you? It means that if the majority of humans on this planet who are also co-creators amongst you, we are in this intelligent web, okay, this infinite web of intelligence, and so ultimately we are all connected by like a hive mind. However, we have free will to kind of make alternative decisions, timeline shifts, jumps, etc., by changing our thoughts, by changing our vibration here. So co-creation and how it impacts reality is what you choose to vibrate on. If more and more people chose to be in the center of the hurricane, all of this chaos, conflict would not be going on. And yes, there are other factors, and we can argue, you know, again, like I said, the reptilians, the elites, this, that, I mean, whatever you choose to subscribe to, whatever you choose to believe in, that is your lens of perception, and it's not wrong. There is no good or bad. It's about accepting and unifying all others' opinions here and recognizing them as a co-creator, just as you are a co-creator as well. These realities are congruent amongst each other, okay? They live in harmony, and it's kind of like we go through this wave here, all right? I like to talk about it, you know, as choosing the most optimal timeline for your existence. You know, what is going to best support your family, your career, your traveling, your experience as a human being here on Gaia, and what is most in alignment with your divine life purpose, with your divine blueprint for this reality in this time space continuum, whatever. But so I put seed example for the next subject to kind of talk about. So I always talk about transurfing, and I like to use a seed example. So I always say, as an seed, you have this infinite web of intelligence. You are intelligent enough to know that does a seed only have one root? No, it does not, because that doesn't make any sense. It has numerous roots, just as you as a human have infinite possibilities. There's infinite possibilities, infinite realities, infinite timelines that you can actually tap into. As I said, they are all congruent to each other, so you can easily switch just by switching your mental reality. So as a seed, you are able to see which timelines provides the most nutrients, aka which timeline is going to be the most optimal for you, which timeline is going to keep you out of a car accident, which timeline is going to bring you the most success, which timeline is going to bring you the most abundance, which timeline is going to bring you the most inner peace. And we surf these timelines throughout the day. Numerous times a day. You can shift paradigms and timelines numerous times a day. It's something that a friend of mine and I talk about almost on a daily basis. You know, in one reality, I may go to Starbucks, and in another reality, I got in a car accident on the way to Starbucks. And in another reality, I never even went for a Starbucks. It was just a thought that had crossed my mind. Either way, the seed was planted in all aspects of myself. We are multidimensional, multifaceted beings having a temporary human experience. There are multiple aspects of us from here right now, and there are versions of me that exist simultaneously. It's important to use discernment. It is important to recognize which of these timelines are, you know, of course, most optimal. And I keep saying that today. Today's word of the day is choice and optimal, okay? The optimal choice. Those are the words of the day today. So anyways, oftentimes we tend to ignore that gut instinct, and that gut instinct is actually our solar plexus, and it is our solar plexus letting us know that our body feels vibrationally that something is going to happen, whether it's good or bad. And again, there is no good or bad. They're both experiences that will help you evolve as a being here on earth. The mind, the body, and the soul are three separate entities, the holy trinity, right? And your body pumps blood, and it heals broken bones, and it digests food without you consciously doing so. So your body is probably one of the most loyal entities to you, and that's why it's so sacred, and that's why it's important to cherish your body. No matter what you do, whether you go on a 3-day drinking binger, your body heals itself. Your body starts craving and sending signals to your mind. So again, it's in harmony and it's in alignment with your mind, which is another entity. Your mind is a separate entity in itself, and I like to say at the age of 2-3 years old, you started developing an ego, a comfort blanket which shielded you and kept you out of harm's way and out of, the existence that is less suitable for your evolution. So by understanding that your mind is a separate entity, your body is a separate entity, and your soul is a separate entity, you're able to use discernment, and you're able to delegate, which part of you're going to make decisions with, you're going to utilize. Although separation is an illusion, because technically the experience is all in one, it's all conclusive, and it feels like it's all one. It's actually not. So by recognizing your mind, your body, and your soul as three separate entities, it's a lot easier to use discernment. There's an old Zen proverb that says, I think it's Zen, it could be something else, but I believe it's Zen, and it says that the mind makes a poor master, but a great servant. And so it's important to recognize who is in charge. Your mind should be in the back seat while you are driving. You should be the one driving. And if you don't like the reality that you are in, consciously get behind the wheel and mindfully drive and steer yourself in the direction through mentality, through your state of vibration, by raising your vibration, by recognizing what within your mind has limited to you to a timeline or a reality at which you are not happy, you are not successful, you are not feeling the limitlessness that is your truth, the abundance which is your birthright. That's what many don't want us to know. So recognize that you are omnipresent and omnipotent, okay? You are all seeing, you are all hearing, you are here, you are there. There are multitudes of aspects within yourself that you can visualize, that you can tap into. Maybe on one timeline, I might be extremely organized, but in another timeline, I might be a little more disorganized, but I'm more productive. And so by viewing all these different timelines and these different aspects of myself, I'm able to pick and choose when I want to bring into my current timeline, or I can just completely do a paradigm shift and move on to the timeline that is most suitable for my highest good and for the highest good of all. So for example here, these 6-dimensional social memory complex beings, the hive mind that I talk about, we are already interconnected into this hive mind of intelligence, is what I like to call it. And my guides made sure to correct me earlier and to say that it is consciousness, intelligent consciousness. And again, it's the hive mind. So in other dimensions, we don't have diseases. We don't have diseases. We don't have pedophilia. We don't have racism. We don't have any of that. We don't even have language. And so we communicate telepathically. We communicate just by being interconnected by like this invisible spider web. And so it's really important to recognize that ultimately that is the goal here on 5D, and that is what we're moving into. However, that won't happen anytime soon, just because there's a mass awakening going on. And there's so many people shifting without, they're unconsciously doing it. They're not consciously doing it. It's like astral projecting. Some people do it consciously, some people do it unconsciously. But have you ever recognized, talking about astral projection, that in your dreams, you're having a conversation, however, your mouth nor the person that you're communicating with, their mouth is not moving either? That's because you are in a different dimension at which language, yes, although still used, it's used differently. It's used through the hive mind, is what I like to call it. It's used through the law of one. And raw material actually talks about and really drives in the law of one within their book. It's a great book. I highly recommend it. I love it. Again, like I said, I'm reading it again here. So anyways, we have those connections here in Gaia. A lot of you guys are telepathic. You're very gifted, and there's a lot of emotions. There's a lot of energy. There's a lot of intelligence that has been suppressed. And that's what you're ultimately tapping into through this awakening. And that's why I'm teaching about, timeline shifts. So you understand that you are the co-creator in a multi-universe of co-creators, and you have the choice to shift consciously or unconsciously. And unconscious usually stems from fear, worry, self-doubt, etc. Just negative things. You're in more of a contrast matrix versus being in a matrix with your higher self, which I call a pleasure matrix. The pleasure matrix is a place at which you get to manifest between you and your higher self. So obviously you're always manifesting the most optimal timeline for your goals and whatever reality you wish to experience in this lifetime. But suffering is a choice. It is a choice. And so if you feel like my life sucks and this it's because you have those thoughts, and your mind continuously perpetuates memories and other things that the ego generates for you to be stuck in that frame of mind, to be stuck in that mental state that is not serving you, and it hasn't served you for a long time. The thing is recognizing that and not identifying, as I said earlier, identities that appear to be so virtuous end up stunting your growth. We tend to hyper-focus our lens through one filter and stagnate our evolution due to it. So for example, if I was just saying like, oh, I'm a tarot card reader, like bam, that would be my only reality, is a tarot card reader. But I'm so multifaceted, I'm so multidimensional, and I recognize other aspects of me that simultaneously exist right here, right now, as I am speaking. I recognize the talents, the creative endeavors, and I'm not going to limit myself to one thing. So when people ask, who am I am a multifaceted, multidimensional being of love here, having a temporary human experience, helping raise consciousness and raising my own consciousness and learning my own lessons as well. Ultimately, I'm here to deliberately break out of the matrix and, assist others along the way by sharing my own stories. That's why I talk a lot about myself. Some people say that it's not the best idea, but I share from experience because I've learned from experience. And so if I could help others prevent making the same mistakes that I did along the way, then great. I feel good about what I'm doing. Anyways, so today, talking about telepathy, I was at Starbucks, and I was getting Starbucks. I was walking out and I was drinking it. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I got my Starbucks. I feel great. And then I immediately had a thought, and I was like, oh, my daughter would have loved Starbucks right now too. I should have bought her one as well. Now, the instant that I climbed in the car, quite literally, I don't know how she knew or anything. Well, I do know, but we'll explain this. In the moment, I was just kind of baffled for a second because my daughter FaceTimed me and said, hey, Mom, will you bring me home a Starbucks? And I was like, how does she know I'm here? We go straight to the human of like processing it. Analysis, right? And it doesn't make sense. But on a soul level, my daughter and I are so intimately connected that we share a hive mind. And so she was able to tap in and see that I was at Starbucks, that I was getting Starbucks, and so that's why she had called me in that moment, and that's why I had picked up on her vibration as I was already in the middle of the parking lot walking back to my car by being like, oh, my daughter wants Starbucks. So again, this happens with so many different things when you recognizing how we are all co-creators. So if you choose to resonate again on a vibration, and that's why they're saying that there is such a split in timelines right now, because there has been a major split. A lot of people are afraid of COVID. They're afraid of their government. They're afraid of this. They're afraid their rights are being taken away, and et cetera, because they're listening to the propaganda. They're listening to the news. They're putting a listening ear, eye, and attention to things that don't have the best intention and do not serve them. So the key here is to recognize what you're putting a listening ear, eye, and attention to, whether it's friends, family, coworkers, the news, social media, etc. Here, don't get caught up in conspiracies. They're great, they're cool. I research them all the time, you know, things that I like. However, I don't allow that to be my main mind frame and my main state of mind. I like transition, I like moving forward, I like consistently evolving, and I don't like stagnation. So anyways, part of self-realization is knowing that you are a being of eternal worth. Therefore, nothing external to you may cause harm to your being. It's important to reprogram old constructs so that you don't manifest unconsciously, and you align yourself to a reality that works in your favor. You hear us all talking about this, and again, the more of us that go to the center of the storm, the eye of the storm, and remain heart-centered and observe instead of identifying with, the quicker that this transition will become. But it requires shadow work, which is collectively what is going on. We're experiencing shadow work, we're experiencing, you know, these shifts, which is why certain things go missing, like my poetry. It could be a book, it could be a crystal, it could be a bracelet, it could be car keys. I mean, it could literally be that you were scheduled one day, and for whatever reason, you look again and you're not scheduled. That's because you went through a paradigm shift. You aren't, you know, miscalculating your memories. It is actually, you're seeing the truth here, and you're recognizing, wait a minute, this is not what it was yesterday. It's becoming more and more and more obvious, and I actually talked about that. The timeline jumps are extremely noticeable, is what I wrote down here. So this reality is a co-creation. Again, there is nothing good or bad, except thinking makes it so. So by using discernment and separating yourself from your mind, separating yourself from your body, and viewing things as a whole, from your higher self, from your soul, you will be able to optimize your experience and your evolution here in a more pleasurable way versus a painful way that you won't be happy with. Okay, so don't unconsciously choose to buy into things that are out of alignment with who you truly are. Know who you are, know thyself. That's one of the most important quotes that have always stuck with me throughout my entire awakening, is know thyself. Because then when other people challenge you, when other people tell you you're wrong, when people call you out of character through their own lens of projection, you are not bothered by it. You're very tempered, you're very balanced, and you're able to transmute that energy for them, because for whatever reason they were somehow aligned to your reality, or it was just the congruent, the harmony between these realities that were kind of like meshing and then separating again, right? And that happens quite often when you come across an angry driver, when you come across certain experiences. All of them are for your benefit though, and of course you can control all of these experiences through your own reaction, through your own observation. We all know the quote, observe the observer. You are the observer. You are the seed of intelligence. So observe the observer, right? The observer is, you know, these multiple aspects of you that are on different timelines. Okay, so anyways, remember, there are infinite timelines, infinite realities, and infinite possibilities. The choice is yours. Choose consciously, or you can remain unconscious, and you can float through a matrix that doesn't always necessarily form for your highest good. It's more so you're in the collective consciousness, and that's everyone else's projections of what reality is. So again, surround yourself with those who matter, and, you know, recognize that your mind makes a poor master and a great servant. Take the steering wheel and drive. You are omnipresent. You are omnipotent. You are so loved. You are so gifted, and you're so much more powerful than you believe you are and than you've been told that you are. This is a huge opportunity for you to really take back control in your life and call back sovereignty, so that you are not impacted by these lower vibrations any longer. Again, you are the difference. So choose consciously, choose mindfully, and speak mindfully, observe mindfully, and control your reactions. Keep things, again, through your lens of perception, but also honoring another's, because again, they are a co-creator here, and whether they get it now or not, they will see that you raised your vibration and what you've been manifesting for yourself. So obviously, in due time, when they are ready, they'll want the same thing, and that's when they will come to you. You are a lighthouse. As a lighthouse, you don't go running into the ocean after a ship. You allow the ship to come to you by keeping your light on. So that's very important to recognize that. Last thing, identities that appear to be so virtuous end up stunting your growth. Do not forget that. That is so vital. Don't identify. You are separate, but you are also one. It is definitely an experience, but it's not an experience that you are, it's not an experience that you have to have. It's a choice to experience that experience. It's everything is such a paradox. It's so fun. But again, there's nothing good or bad, except thinking makes it so. Okay, the timeline jumps are noticeable. You've got this. You are love, you're multidimensional. There's so many aspects of you. Choose the best ones that are most suitable for the life that you're wanting to live. I love you all. You're infinite, you're limitless. Abundance is your natural state, and I will see you next time. Bye, guys.